Hi team, how's it going? Everybody, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Let's give it a couple of more minutes before we get started. There were many folks that actually expressed interest on this webinar, so I'm pretty sure that more people will hop on, both current customers and also people that are particularly interested in Hubble in the future. So yeah, hope everybody's doing well. It is a little bit rainy here where I'm at, here on the East Coast in the US, but hopefully you guys are enjoying better weather than me. Um, okay. Yeah, why don't we get started and then we'll just let people, join and ask questions as they come along. So today's topic is a continuation of our agentic series, how to use MCPs and how to leverage agents for your user research. And as I promised, today we're going to cover how to test Claude code and Claude prototypes using agents, powered by Hubble's MCP. Um, so without further ado, let's get started. So uh, Many of our customers have tried to transition from using regular Figma prototypes into more AI-based tools, such as Figma Make, as well as Claude. Claude has been very popular within our customer base. More and more, we've been getting inquiries about how can I test this prototype or this artifact that I've created with Claude Code. So it's become a topic and an important focus for us as we kind of think about how design as well as research is going to evolve. And pretty clear that creating a prototype has become much cheaper than before. It's much more interactive, more realistic, and HTML based as opposed to just framed and component based in Figma. So typically, what you would see is a prototype that used to take a couple of weeks to build, now is taking less than an hour for you to come up with something that is very close to what it would look in production. Obviously, there are some limitations with it. If you think about how closely it matches your design system and how robust it is with regards to all the flows and all the details associated with it, there's still work that needs to get done, but I think very clear that to us that getting into something clickable that is usable, that is shareable with with your customers and with your participants has become much easier than ever. Um, However, we've continued to hear that there is a lot of bottleneck on the testing side. People are not having enough time to be able to distribute the studies with users to get feedback on them because there's just so much stuff on the pipeline, on the roadmap that people need to put together and build out. So what we wanted to discuss today is how you can implement a workflow and start testing things more actively so that you can ensure that the research process and the testing process also catches up to the velocity that you have been witnessing on the design and the prototype side, and the prototype kind of phase. So, typically it would take 2 weeks for you to write a plan, recruit, schedule, and field a study in the old way. And that really is a bottleneck. But as surprise, surprise, using our MCP and the workflows that we have enabled for you, you can actually make testing much more accessible. You can also proliferate testing. You can make sure that if you're researchers, you can involve the designers. If you're designers, you can involve the PMs and make sure that the continuous process of getting feedback on your UI and the products that you're building becomes a muscle that is much easier to execute with the help of agents. So just as a recap, Hubble's MCP is what we're going to kind of focus on today and really and talk about how prototype testing can work within this context. But the MCP supports authoring, creating the studies, planning for them, recruitment, and then as well as repository and analysis. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an example, a Claude generated prototype as an example, and then I'm going to walk you guys through these 4 steps, which is to build the prototype, to plan the study, create the study, publish, recruit, and read the study after we're done with everything. On the building side, I'm not going to show you guys how to build a Claude prototype. I have one ready. If you have questions about that, I'm pretty sure there are better resources, and you guys are probably more equipped to do this in a more professional way than I do. But just to kind of demonstrate, I did prepare a prototype using Claude Code that I'm going to share in a bit, and then we can start kind of walking through each of these pieces together. Just before we get into the actual product demo, I just wanted to walk through these slides just so that you can get a sense of what we're going to talk about. But the prototype build step, like that you guys are already familiar with, that is prompt based, like that doesn't change at all as you think about implementing Hubble's MCP and then using the agentic testing workflows. You just build the prototype and then it's going to give you an artifact, a link that you can utilize. So there's no changes there. What changes is this part. So you can use the LLM of your choice. Claude is the one I'm going to demonstrate, but whether it be ChatGPT, Copilot, or Claude, you can just start planning for the study in the beginning. And we we deliberately made it a separate step to plan for the study because it retains the context of the plan, and then it's going to utilize the plan when it's running analysis. It's going to refer to the plan if you want to make changes to the study. So it becomes a really important document. It's almost like having a Claude MD or like some as a markdown file that can serve as context to the AI. Um, we really wanted to make sure that you can draft a study using the plan, and then the plan becomes the tool that the AI uses to actually create the study. So just keep in mind, write your research goal. Tell the AI what you need to learn about the prototypes, and then it's going to get going automatically. This is an example, right? So, hey, can you write the plan and then can you rewrite the task so, none of them name a button specifically. So this is your checkout example. Hey, can you buy the running shoes in the card using the saved card? Change the card you're paying with and then finish the order. So the way the AI executes and writing these tasks within the prototype test, you can make sure to kind of refine that and make it more intuitive, make it more clear so that you can accomplish your goals more easily based on the outputs that the AI is able to give you. And then after you're done with the study plan, you're going to launch it. And then the launching, the recruitment, everything can be handled through the MCP, but then you're going to have a real-time sync with the product so you can always go back. And if you want, you can make changes directly inside the Hubble application as well. So, as here, the prompt is, hey, create that as an unmoderated desktop study in Hubble and keep it as a draft. And then after you do that, you can go into Hubble and then see all the tasks and basically review the work that AI has done. So that's how I like to do things. Basically, have the Claude terminal, the Claude window open where I can talk to the agent, and then I also have the Hubble interface open so that if I want to check its work, if I want to preview the study, that all that stuff needs to get done within the Hubble UI. Not everything can be reviewed and edited easily using the prompt-based UI that Claude provides. So just to, as a tip, just open the two things and keep it separate. And then this is the awesome part that we've added. After you're done creating the study, you can publish and recruit directly using the MCP as well. And Claude does, and the AI will do a great job in recognizing any kind of verbal indication and specification that you provide on the participant side. So in this example, you can type, "Hey, can you recruit 8 U.S. shoppers, 25 to 45, who buy online at least twice a month, and then price it before you publish." So this is the instruction that you can provide the AI after you publish the study, and then the agent AI is going to basically translate into this recruitment form so that whether it be responder, user interviews, or even your own panel, it's going to be able to specify what are the demographic characteristics, the screener questions that you must add, and then execute on the recruitment as well automatically. So here are some prompts. I'm going to share this deck with everyone that has joined the call. So, don't worry about writing this down, but basically, some prompts worth stealing when you're, planning for the study, hey, what are the riskiest assumptions in this flow? Like that could be a pretty important fundamental question, to kind of ask the participants and the tasks and hey, can you rewrite the task so none of them name a button? You want to make the test as pure as possible, remove bias, and not make it easy for the participants to click things just based on the text that it's written. So that's one kind of prompt that we've used here to test our prototypes. Create the unmoderated study and then keep it as a draft. That is one prompt that we've used. And then recruit people, and then for the results, like, hey, can you identify where people are hesitating, what's the pattern that you've seen, from these 8 participants. So, that can be a really interesting way to kind of get started with the synthesis side as well. Yeah, so the analysis, basically, we're going to run this. And obviously, even after we launch this study, we're not going to be able to get the human results immediately. So I have some data that I kind of collected in a study that we're going to kind of utilize as an example. But, here are some of the things that you can figure out. Hey, where did they stop? Where did they slow down? What are some of the verbal things that they said using the transcripts from the clips or even the open text follow-ups they added to see if there's anything meaningful here to identify. And then putting it together, this is the typical pattern that we've seen. Hey, you can put together the prototype on a Monday, morning, launch the study in a Monday afternoon with panels, with real panels as well. And then next morning, you have all the sessions in. You can start with the thematic analysis and then basically, ship a new version, iterate, or based on that, decide to do something in production. So again, there is still a requirement for human involvement because this is again a tool for researchers and for real like for humans to stay in control and operate. So the questions, the plan approval, who gets approved, and the execution, the important decisions are still going to be made by humans in the loop. But then all the repetitive things like entering the screener questions, like sweeping the transcripts, identifying the nodes, and putting together the notes into themes, and all those things can be done by the agents that can be powered through the Hubble MCP. So this I wanted to make clear that we're not really looking to, fully replace a person that is kind of running and owning this within organizations. This just speeds things up. It makes it easy. It also helps you train your team to be able to, adopt these kinds of workflows so that next time you need to build a prototype, it doesn't become an excuse to say, hey, like it takes too long for us to get feedback on this. You can just say, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna launch a study through the Hubble MCP, and then tomorrow morning we'll get data that we can take a look at before we start moving along. So again, let's talk about the scope. There's I think this fits this type of like rapid testing, more atomic, real-time testing fits when you're doing more like UI based testing and usability testing. So if you're deciding between two flows and you want to get feedback on them, if you want to catch usability issues in the layout of a button, or you want to measure workflow effectiveness on a particular flow that you're designing within the product, those are great things to test this way in a non-moderated fashion, because it's going to give you clarity and you're going to be able to listen to the participants think out loud. And then there's also analytics data that we can collect on plot prototypes and live websites. But for fundamental discovery, for important things that require more in-depth conversations with your personas, and also more top-down conversations and like things that require more digging into and real-time feedback from the participant, I would still rely on moderated research. I don't think there's any doubt and the value of that when we think about more fundamental, more probing based research that you need to do with the participant, even if it relates to a prototype or a signal. So just wanted to make that clear. Yeah, so that's kind of the summary of what we're going to cover today. Any questions before we actually proceed with the live demo? I think there are a couple more people join, all based on it. Yeah. Otherwise, let me just continue, and then if you guys have any questions, just stop me as I'm going through the demo. Okay, so today I'm going to utilize this prototype. So this is a Claude code generated prototype. It's a sample CRM. So basically, for those of you that I'm pretty sure everyone here knows what a CRM is, but basically it keeps track of your sales, right? Your sales pipeline, how much you closed, what's the win rates, and also just a list of your contacts, like who are your leads, who are the people that you need to contacts, who are your current customers. All that information lives within the CRM, and I was able to create this prototype using Claude Code. Again, as I mentioned, as I was kind of walking through the slides, I'm not going to cover how to create this prototype and what are the steps. I'm pretty sure you guys can find better tutorials and resources to do that uh, elsewhere. So we're going to focus more on the testing side. So what I'm going to do is I'm already connected to the Hubble MCP. I'm going to tell Claude, hey, I need to, build a study for this prototype. So what I would do is I want to create a study plan for this CRM prototype that I put together. Okay. And then I'm just going to give it the one. All right. And again, as I mentioned, the MCP is connected already. So it's just going to flow through, execute, and without me having to go through the connector. If you guys need a reminder on how to set up the connector and what are the tools and the permissions that you need, feel free to contact any one of us on our team or refer to Help Center resources where we have a pretty detailed guide on how to set up the connection and do that. I think there's a question actually, Q&A. Code all my prototypes in Cloud Design. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna yeah, so this works with Claude Design as well. We just made it Claude Code because we use Claude Code heavily within our team, and we create some of our prototypes using Claude Code. But Claude Design, anything that you can publish as an artifact or as an HTML, it could be Figma Make, it could be Replit, it could be anything. Any type of prototyping tool that is powered by AI that gives you clickable UI will be testable using this feature. Yeah. So here, yeah, so I guess Claude can't open this because it's a Claude artifact. I'm pretty sure if I connect it to the extension, it will be able to. But yeah, let's start kind of talking about the plan. So what's the goal? So it wrote the goal just by because I told it was a CRM, right? Evaluate whether a first-time user can complete the core CRM workflows within Meridian. Again, Meridian is the prototype here, right? And let's go back to this. And then without guidance and identify where the information architecture breaks down. Unmoderated desktop live site test, great. That's the right task that we need to use here. 8 to 10 participants, B2B. People who use a CRM weekly in sales, CS, RevOps. And the screener should filter for hands-on daily use. Great job. No managers that read dashboards. Okay. So let's take a look at this, how it was able to create this plan. Actually, I think this is just in memory because it hasn't been published. So let's just read through this. Okay, orientation, take 30 seconds to look around. So I guess it's trying to like gauge, okay, what are people's reactions when they first look at this prototype? Can you add a new deal, live site task, follow with 1 or 5 ease rating, and what if anything slowed you down? Okay, so I actually have things that I want to test within this study. So I'm going to specify some of the things I want to learn. First, I want to learn. I want to learn how easy it is for people to add a new deal to the pipeline. To the pipeline. Can you add a task that covers this? So again, if you have any sorts of tweaking, tuning that you want to make to the study, you can specify that to your agents. Again, I'm using Claude as an example, but this works with any LLM. You can use it within Figma, you can use it within Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot, anywhere. Okay, so here's a task. Okay, follow-ups in order. Great. What are you measuring? First time to click. Okay, and then secondly, there is another task that I want to add. I want to see how easy it is for people to identify contacts, or let's say find a contact, find a contact within the CRM database. Okay, that's another task that I want to add to make sure that one, I want to see how easy people kind of go through the deal addition workflow, and then the second piece is finding a contact. Okay, here's a findability task structure to match the first one, prompted participants. Okay, all this seems great. And then there's a follow-up. How easy was this? What are you measuring? Okay. So me 2 tasks. So want me to build a study in Hubble now or add a third? Okay, I think those 2 tasks are enough for now for this illustrative example. But as you see here, you can add as many as you want. If you want to compare 2 different artifacts, the AI is going to be able to do that as well. So depending on what you need, you can just keep, asking the AI what to do, and then you're going to be able to, get that reflected in the study. Okay, now let's publish. Did I answer your question? The person that did a QA, I think they're anonymous, so I can't see them on the list. Okay. Yeah, so the publishing process, it's gonna, as I updated last time, we don't just have analysis and read capabilities now. We have full publishing capability for any methodology. So unmoderated, moderated, AI moderated, surveys, in product, everything should work through the MCP. So Our goal is to make the MCP as powerful as possible so that regardless of where you want to create, analyze, or launch specific projects, you should be able to do it based on your own preferences, as opposed to having a single platform that you need to stick to. Okay, great. All right, so I'm adding the AI, I guess, is adding the task, is updating the study plan, and then after it's done, it's gonna give you a link that you can click and open the Hubble platform. So I'm gonna show you some results after it's done. All right, published study, yes, allow, and then it's gonna. And by the way, this is a frequent question that we've been getting from some of our enterprise customers. The MCP fully respects the role-based access permissions that you have within the platform. So Hubble supports viewers and then editors and admins. And depending on the permission level, even if you connect with the MCP, if you're a viewer, you're not going to be able to create studies or launch recruitments or use the credits. We made it purposefully that way so that you can make sure that only the editors can edit, as you know, as it should be. So just to make that clear. Okay, so here it's giving a summary of all the tasks that it added. So the live site tasks, the follow-ups, and then the questions. So let's actually take a look at this. So let's see. Um, Plan tab. Okay, so I'm going to click on the plan tab, and then I'm going to open this study that it created. So yeah, this is a study and it reflects it's reflecting the task flow, the key questions, the participant. And again, just to be clear, this is Hubble's UI. This is not Claude, right? So it added that onto the plan, and then it shows the key questions, the design notes, the success criteria, everything. So okay, I'm good with this. I'm good with the study plan, and then I'm going to be there's no success metrics here. So this is another thing because this is Claude Code. We actually can help you track success metrics through URL. So for a real website, we can track which URL people land on to make sure that you're keeping track of whether people are able to navigate to a specific part of your website. This example is a single page prototype, so there's no URLs. So we're not going to measure that. So it's just asking that question, hey, like, are you okay with that? And you're like, yes, I'm okay with that. Um, Now let's publish this study. Okay, so now it's gonna put this to live. Okay, it's live. And then I'm gonna be able to go to the recruitment tab, open it, and then you'll see that the study has been created. Okay, now like the plan document, this is what we saw before. And then now that the study is live, all these other tabs are open as well. The files tab, the summary tab, the responses tab, and all the analysis tabs. Let's take a look at the tasks that the AI added just so that we can visualize what it did based on my instructions. Okay, so here's the builder. Nice that it added nicknames to each of the tasks as well. So this is task one. Let's add a deal. Let's add a new deal to your pipeline. You've just gotten a call with a new prospect who's interested in working with you. Add this deal to your pipeline in the Meridian CRM. Think out loud as you go. And then it shows the steps here. Hey, open the Meridian CRM. It'll take a moment to get oriented. Then add a new deal to your pipeline. Use whatever details you normally enter after the first call. So it did a great job of adding that task. I told it specifically, hey, I want to learn how people add a new deal to the pipeline. Okay, and then second, how easy or difficult was it to add that deal? So it put the follow-ups. Okay, like I want to measure how easy or difficult it was for them to complete that particular task. And then why that rating, what made it that rating. So this is kind of a double follow-up, I guess, just to make sure I understand this. And by the way, if you see the study and you want to edit it live, you should be able to do that as well. So let's actually try to do that. So uh, can we um, actually, yeah, can we delete the second follow-up question? Uh, for plus. Just to, just as an illustrative example to see how you can edit things even after the study has been done. It's not just like, hey, like you got one shot and you're done. So the follows, which follow should I delete? The second open-ended one. What made it their rating? Yeah, that's the one that I want to delete. And then how do you go about finding it? Then let's just delete that one. I'm going to allow. And keep in mind, if you have real data and the study is published, we don't recommend making changes to our questions because it can mess up with the data, but still, we give you the option if you want to. Okay, so that's deleted now. Oh, that edit is blocked. Yeah, I think my permissions don't allow me to do that. Sorry for that. But if you want to enable this, you should be able to do it so that you can delete the questions afterwards. I just wanted to show that there is the editing capability through the MCP as well, even after the study has been built. It's not like it's a single shot and then you're done with the study. Okay, so just let's take a look at the other question. So, hey, find a contact in the CRM. This includes the steps as well. And then it includes the link to the prototype. It has the usability metrics turned on, the text entries, and everything else. So I think this looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. So I'm going to tell it, okay, you know what? I'm good with this. Let's publish and try to recruit some participants. All right, so the study is now going to get published. Okay, I guess I published the study already. Yeah, so this is published already, but I told it to like, let's go recruit some participants. Moving on to recruitment. Okay, it was smart enough to recognize that, so I'm going to allow that action. And by the way, this allow shows up because I reconnect. This is a fresh kind of like MCP session. You won't have to do the allow thing if you just, click on it once, depending on how you want to use it. So let's start the recruitment. The AI was able to come up with its own criteria. Okay, this is for salespeople, right? It's a CRM tool, so I'm going to recruit account executives and sales development representatives. So it already had that specification. But yeah, let's see how it does. Okay, B2B, US computer software companies from 11 to 5,000 employees, job titles, account executive, sales manager. This is perfect. Customer success manager, sales operation manager. And then it added the screener questions too. How often do you personally work inside a CRM? Single, few times a month. Okay, I'm going to specify actually, I want to only invite people that use HubSpot at their work. Can you add that as a condition? And then it's going to just add that um, into the option. Yeah, so set screener questions. So if I go to the recruitment tab, oh, sorry, I think I opened the wrong one here. So this is the add deal and find contact here. If I go to the recruitment tab, it started the draft already, right? Um, and then if I open that, you'll see that everything that the AI specified here will be living here. So 15-minute on moderated test, new CRM prototype. We're testing early prototypes. Need a desktop example. If you go to the requirements, 10 participants, B2B, this is exactly what we had in the study plan. Demographic details, US, computer software, company size, and the job titles match exactly. And then screener questions. Let's see if it added what I specified, the HubSpot question. Describe the last thing you did in HubSpot at work. What were you trying to accomplish? So that's the open text. And then, yeah, so it did that. Multiple choice. Okay, added as a hard requirement. Then you put which CRM platforms you use at work. Which CRM platforms you use at work? Must select is set as HubSpot, and then all the rest are may selects. So this kind of sets the HubSpot as a must. They must have used HubSpot to be able to qualify and show up in the list. And then the cost is 20 credits. And then as I explained, it gives you the draft link so that when you're done writing this, you can click on this draft link and then it just redirects you to that recruitment, which is exactly what we were looking at before, just so that you can have the continuity of being able to review this. Okay, so I'm good with this. Let's launch the recruitment. So all we have to do is, okay, tell it, I'm okay with that. Let's launch it. And then you can just say, okay, and then we'll proceed to the next step. And then you should be good to go. So let's see how it does this. Okay, recruitment is live on a respondent. You can specify user interviews as well. I think for unmoderated, we usually default to respondents, but if you want, you can choose user interviews as well as a specification. So this is now live. So if I go into projects, you'll be able to see that in the recruitment tab, there's a live Meridian CRM project here. So if you click on this, you should be able to see. And then we just launched this, so there's no participants, but you'll be able to see all the details and everything that we added as well. So yeah, that was the full workflow: creating the study plan, creating the study with the help of the agent, and then launching the full list of participants. Um, let me just stop there. Any questions on what I've done so far? I'm going to proceed to walk through like a sample study that has responses, maybe to kind of take a look at the data, or like what things look like if you use a Claude prototype or any type of vibe prototype. But any questions that I could answer for people? Okay. And yeah, if there's anything that okay, that's a question. Okay, this has been all since it's pretty exciting. I'm still a bit fuzzy on setting the MCP. Okay, so contact us. There should be a help center article, and then we published a lot of new blog posts on MCP use and how to get started. So there should be a lot of resources if you go on our website on the blog session. But if you have any questions or get stuck, just let us know, and then we're more than happy to help set up with the MCP. So all you have to do is create the account, and then if you go to the integrations tab, there's going to be a Hubble MCP box, and then within the box, you're going to be able to copy the URL for the MCP server. And then, depending on how you like which platform you use, there are some different instructions we need to follow here to set up the MCP connection, but it should be really straightforward. Just copying this, entering it into the connector on Claude or in ChatGPT is a custom integration that you need to add. And then you just follow, a couple of steps for 30 seconds and you should be good to go. Yeah, and get started. All right, let's take a look at an example that I pre-built before this webinar, just so that you guys can see like what like an example would look like. So this is a recruitment that this is exactly the same study, but I just launched it maybe an hour before, just so that you can see like how the participants roll through. So we already have two applicants for this study, and we actually changed the UI here so that you can see the different columns and statuses for participants. So you can see here that two people have applied; they're both qualified. Ryan T and Russell L. Again, this was fully driven by the MCP as well. So without having to fill in the form or do things, you just boom, everything has flowed through so that you can just get the list of participants immediately. And then you can see here, okay, enterprise account executive, they call it like they're an account executive. They use the CRM every day. They use HubSpot. So this is perfect. Like this is exactly what I want. So I'm going to invite that person. And then Russell, this is another person that it was a sales rep. So as you can see here, both are qualified, and then you can see all their details. I'm going to add a note here to mark them as a fit, just so that I can remember that these are good fits and then invite them later. Let's take a look at the results. So for any vibe coded prototype, it's essentially a website where you're looking at. So you'll see here in the summary section that there's going to be a card for each task. There's going to be an instruction, and then this is exactly the same kind of flow that we built. I just collected some responses beforehand. So you got to call off with, Perch Analytics. They reach a 40K expansion and you're in early conversations. Add this deal to Meridian and then think about it as you go. So let's take a look. So here I can see the live side details. And then for these participants, you can click on the paths and then you can see, actually, this is not the right one. Yeah, this is not the task, I think. So if you click on this one, yeah, so you'll see that they open the task. Uh, I think, sorry, I think I'm looking at the wrong study here. I think I told it to like run something else. So sorry about this example. But basically, what you'll see is um, you'll see that in this, let's see the earliest one that I did. So it's sort by earliest. And a new deal. Yeah, so here you go. This is a good example. So basically it's going to show just in terms of data that you can get on a live website or a live code prototype is it's going to show a story of what the participant has done as they're kind of walking through the study. So visited Claude, this is the artifact that we're looking at, right? This Meridian CRM artifact. So here they clicked on the new deal, right? So and by the way, we also anonymize PII. So that's why you're seeing these black boxes, that you don't see any personal identifiable information. And then you can see the clicks here. So, okay, they correctly entered the name of the deal. They typed in Perch Analytics expansion. They clicked on the value. They did create deal. They typed in 40K into the box, and then they loaded everything, and then they were able to move on to the second step. So you're able to see the story for each participant with the click data as well as the actual components that they clicked on the page. And then you can see it in the summary as well. So, hey, the participants were able to complete the task, and then they are able to, do X number of clicks and then X navigations. For this example, I also didn't have the video turned on, but if you want to turn on the video, so if you go into the settings, and then if you turn on the video recording, you'll be able to get clips, the video clips of the participants testing the products as well. So in addition to just getting the click data and then responses to the surveys, you'll also be able to watch the recording as well, if that's something that you're interested in and kind of utilizing as an additional data point. Yeah, so let's actually try to pull the synthesis in the MCP as well. Okay, Meridian. Okay, this study. Can we pull the data from the participants? So again, I'm moving on to like the synthesis part using this example. So after you're done with the study and you've collected all the participants, you can use the MCP to analyze the data as well. Get study results, list task responses. Yeah, so it's doing everything that it's supposed to. Okay, pull three responses before any findings. The thing that matters the most. Yeah. So yeah, these were two of them were synthetic testers. That's why you saw that the screener was off. I just wanted to demonstrate the study results. Um, but let's just have it focus on Plum Falcon time because that's the real name. Actually, no, Indio Goat. So, yeah, yeah. Let's just focus on Indigo Goat. Okay, allow. So again, I'm just focusing on this one participant because the other two, I just filled in the data with AI, and it seems like it made some mistakes when it did that. But otherwise, when you have the real participants and you're running through the prompt that I'm utilizing right now, you'll get the real data. And then, do they be able to do this kind of analysis with a group of participants and not just a single one? So, okay, Indigo Go. So both live tasks click level. So task one, add a deal, 19 seconds. They found the new deal button at 4.5 seconds, opened the dialog. They typed Perch Analytics expansion deal. Then two problems, the value field and the create deal are both stamped at 11.9. So you can see the full story here. And then the kind of understanding from an analytics perspective, like what the task was. And then they reported that nothing got in the way. It wasn't difficult. Clicked on the pipeline, everything was pretty simple. So what I take from this is that the deal entry point works, verification after creation doesn't, and the pipeline triage has been a real cognitive cost. So there are some, reasoning and deductions that the AI makes based on the UI input, but this is just an example of how you can take the data, the live website data, and the what AI generated prototype, testing result data, and put it into these learnings. Can you summarize this and uh, create a new report? So, just as a reminder, we have reporting directly inside Hubble as well. Or if you want to connect it with Notion, or if you want to just keep all your reports within Claude, you can do that as well. It's up to you. But basically, this is a way for you to take everything and take the data. It could be the video clips, the nodes, any type of insights that you have generated through these kinds of sessions. You can push through into into the report that we have natively within Hubble. Okay, so the report was saved. So I'm going to open the report here. Open link. And then, yeah, within the link, okay, here, like all the insights that it collected is available here. If you want to change, add, edit, you should be able to do that immediately. If you want to share this report and make it public so that people can read it, you can do that, right? And then put it in. So again, I demonstrated the power of what you're able to do using the Hubble's MCP platform. We went all the way from plan to create, edit, recruit, and then running analysis here. That we, if you were to do this, step by step manually, it would have definitely taken us hours. But just by telling AI what are the learnings, what are the things that we need to verify, and then just following through with the instructions, I was able to get from a study to a report, within we're marking 43 minutes right now. Since the start. And then it took definitely less than that because I talked about the slides for the first like 10 minutes or so. So within 30 minutes, I've demonstrated from beginning to end. Obviously, the recruitment will take time here, guys, right? So depending on like how niche your participants are and like the velocity of that, that's going to impact your flow. But keep in mind, when you launch a new recruitment within Hubble, and you can specify this through the MCP as well. If you launch a new recruitment, there's going to be a way for you to specify auto invite. So if you go into the requirements, there's a button to do auto invite. If you set that up, without you having to check back in, or the system's going to automatically invite the qualified participants. If you don't want to do that, if you still want to review people manually, you can turn this off and then set up a notification. So within the product, you're going to see notifications when participants apply for the projects. But if you want to go into the settings and then put email, toggle it on, anytime there's a list of participants that apply, you're going to get a reminder. Hey, there's like people that have applied to the project. Can you please go and invite them in? So that's going to be a pretty useful workflow that you want to use, or you could use to make sure that you invite your participants on time. All right, that's all I have prepared for today. Any questions or anything else that would be helpful for me to cover? Has this been helpful? I think I got a few people remaining, but has this been helpful for you guys? Okay, great. All right. Thank you so much for hopping on for the people that did. I will make sure to cover this, cover more topics on MCP. There's a ton of new, material and things that we haven't covered yet. So stay tuned for the next one. Um, uh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Yeah, so if you have any questions, if you need the recording, we'll make it available and we'll publish it on our YouTube channel. So just let us know. And in the meantime, happy research, happy testing. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to our team. Bye. Thank you. Enjoy.